Welcome back, Gears. Time for another Horde class guide for Gears 5, and this week we'll be covering everything there is to know about the pistol packing Undying Anchor. First, thanks for clicking on my guide for this class. Your views, likes and comments have made me want to cover all of the classes, and with so few left, I just wanted to say thank you for the great feedback you have given me. Enough about me though, let's cover the Anchor. I will once again go over everything about this class, and I'll link my playlist to the rest of the classes I've done in the top right for you. Please note that my guides are aimed at players a bit newer to Gears, or specifically Horde mode. So if you are a hardcore Gears fan, you might already know all of this, so just have a little bit of patience, sit back and enjoy. As I mentioned in the intro, the Anchor is a pistol specialist that can deal a lot of bleeding damage whilst being exceedingly difficult to take down. You will start out all your Horde matches with a Retro Lancer, Markser, Bolt-Hook and 2 flash grenades. The Anchor gets some bonuses to pistol damage with the passive, cards and perks, but more on those later. Pistols of any kind are normally your best weapons to use on this class. Alternatively, you do get some buffs with critical damage as well, so precision weapons like the Longshot are decent options too. The Anchor's ultimate ability is one of the reasons this class is so hard to kill, and it is called Barrier. As simple as it sounds, you put up a barrier in front of your character that your teammates are able to shoot through, giving a 50% damage bonus to anyone shooting through it, whilst blocking all incoming damage from the front. Your barrier is wide enough at base to cover yourself and a teammate either side of you, so long as they are close enough. And the barrier will move around with your character, so you don't have to use it in cover. It will last for a hefty 20 seconds and has a short cooldown of 150 seconds, or 2.5 minutes. You can use barrier multiple times in some waves, so it's worth using almost immediately to get as much of the free protection and damage bonus as you can. This class's passive ability is that you get an extra 30% damage with any pistols you use as this class. Technically the barrier damage boost is as well, but I thought it was better to cover it as part of the ability itself. Anyway, 30% extra damage on pistols might not seem that great, but starting with a bolt-up pistol which hits like a truck anyway, having that extra 30% and then an extra 50% from your barrier will have you dealing almost double damage without taking skill cards or perks into consideration. The basic loadout of the Anchor has been covered. Time to look at the skill cards available. To unlock these skill cards, you need to level the class up, like every other class. I've made up this experience table which has all the values at each level for Gears 5. Leveling up will unlock extra cards and new card slots to put these in, up to a maximum of 5, which are all unlocked by the time you reach level 9. If you played Gears 5 previously and happen to level up Mac, any levels and experience you had on him will have been transferred to this class. Next up, I'm going to cover each skill card in detail and explain the best ways to use it. The Anchor has 17 different skill cards available to the class, so let's start with Score Boost. Every class starts out with this one, and it's your choice if you use it or not. At level 1, it makes almost no difference whether you use it, but it will give you a slightly higher score in Horde, or take off a little bit of time from your escape runs. Bolt-Hook Bandolier is up next. This is a decent quality of life card that lets you carry more ammo for the Bolt-Hook pistol. At level 3, you will unlock a second card slot, as well as the Bloody Shot skill card. This card is a must for the Anchor. Unlocking bleeding damage so early on is amazing. Bloody Shot allows you to deal bleeding damage with any pistol you decide to use, so if you prefer the Snub or Talon pistol over the Bolt-Hook, keep using this card regardless. The next card you unlock is Crazy Tough. This just gives the Anchor extra health, increasing more and more with each level of the card. A very good card to unlock so early on. At level 5, card slot number 3 and the Barrier Battery skill card are both unlocked. Why the Anchor gets so many amazing skill cards so early on is beyond me. Barrier Battery will allow your ultimate to last for longer, specifically an extra 2 seconds per level of the card. At max level, you will have your barrier for 32 seconds, so worth using. You will have to pick and choose your skill cards for now because you will not have enough slots. This is the only class so far that has had issues picking and choosing from so many good cards early on though. Barrier Boost is up next. This is another good quality of life card that will just increase the width of your barrier ultimate ability. When you unlock card slot number 4, you will also unlock Lethal Barrier as well. I really didn't like this card when I first unlocked it, but I have realised I wasn't really using it optimally. So, the card will cause enemies to take damage when they get close enough to touch your barrier. The damage isn't substantial, but it is enough to kill any small units that run straight towards you, like juvies and trackers. This means the barrier itself normally has enough damage to kill these units whilst you focus on whichever targets you need to. A decent card, but situational. The next card you will unlock is Heads Up. This is an escape only card that will reduce how much friendly fire you take, but you don't take any friendly fire at all in Horde mode, so don't waste a slot on this. Even then, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for escape, just tell your friends to get good, or at least improve their aim. Congratulations on hitting level 9, you now have access to all 5 card slots, and the Dodge skill card. This skill card will reduce damage from long shots, marksers and M-bars. It can be worth using, but crazy tough, the skill card that increases your overall health, would be better as it is essentially a similar card, but provides resistance to everything in a sense. At level 10, you will unlock Adrenaline Junkie, another escape only card, so no good for Horde. In escape though, this card is amazing, giving extra damage whilst in Venom, but skip this when playing Horde. Up next is the In Your Face skill card. This makes it possible to taunt any enemy you land a headshot on. This is a particularly good card to pair with this class and its ultimate ability. Simply pop your barrier and taunt whichever high value target needs your attention. Keep enough distance and keep landing headshots to have it focused on you, taking no damage the whole time your barrier is active. If using this without your ultimate ready, be sure not to taunt too many enemies at once. Venom Resistance is unlocked next at level 12. This is another escape only card which will give extra damage resistance when in the Venom or Ash. Situational in escape, useless in Horde. Another escape only card is up next, again, Venom Recharge, which will knock some time off your barrier ultimate cooldown when you get kills whilst in Venom. There's no Venom in Horde, so skip this one. Epic Score Boost is up next. This is unlocked at level 15 and is a higher rarity and value than the standard green score boost. I would only suggest using this if you plan on going for leaderboard rank in either Horde or Escape, or to simply push you over the edge if you are struggling to beat the weekly escape time. At level 16 you will unlock your first gold skill card for the anchor, Barrier Feedback. This isn't a bad card, it will simply add some extra time to the duration of your ultimate whenever you kill an enemy whilst it's active. Pair this with Barrier Battery and you can get 40 plus seconds out of your barrier ability with any single use. Decent but situational. The next card to be unlocked as the anchor is Harness Energy. This is a great support card that will generate stim or health for yourself and teammates whenever enemies shoot at your barrier. Increase the duration of your barrier and use this to not only frontline for your team, but heal and give them some stim whilst boosting their damage output. The final card to unlock for the anchor is another gold skill card called Bullet Chain. Killing enemies with critical hits will increase your damage output for 15 seconds and can stack with itself up to 200 additional % damage. There is no indication on screen as to how much extra damage you are doing. Again, it would have been nice to see something added to the UI for this. Nevertheless, with this equipped, the anchor can deal insane damage after landing a few critical kills. Use this skill card with a precision weapon and it will get easier and easier to critically kill enemies as you land more and more headshots. The extra damage affects all weapons in the game and will also increase bleeding damage with pistols if you happen to have the Bloody Shot skill card equipped as well. Okay, I'm done overloading you with skill cards. Let's turn our attention to the perks. Every class in Gears 5 has access to 4 different perks inside Horde matches. These perks can be leveled up using energy, costing more and more energy to level up, but also granting bigger bonuses. These perks will cost 24,250 energy to max out individually, so it does get expensive. The Anchor has access to damage resistance, which will give some damage resistance against all types of damage up to 30%. Ammo regeneration, which will regenerate ammo passively up to your maximum carrying capacity. Damage, which is just a straight up damage buff with every weapon available in game. And critical damage, which will increase all critical damage with every weapon. Most useful on precision weapons. You have the perks, now here are all the values of those perks. Feel free to pause the video here if you need to. We have everything we need now to cover the build for the Anchor. I have two builds for you with this class today. The first will be a more damage oriented build focusing on bleeding damage, and the second will focus on being a frontline tank supporting your team with healing and damage buff. So build number 1 will have the following skill cards. Bullet Chain is an amazing skill card that will grant stacking damage whenever you hit headshots. You can chain headshot enemies to gain more and more damage, but even a single headshot grants a decent amount of extra damage. Bloody Shot is here to have your active pistol rounds deal bleeding damage as well, and I personally prefer to stick with the Boltok to have the bleeding be as deadly as possible, so I use Boltok Bandolier as well. The extra ammo is just a nice quality of life change, meaning you aren't relying on ammo boxes to restock you. You might think, why not just use a weapons locker then? You can't store pistols on weapon lockers, so you are kinda limited with your ammo. Barrier Battery is here to get the most out of your ultimate ability. The extra time will be extra damage for yourself, whilst being impervious to damage from the front as well. And of course, I've left an option slot open to you at the end. My personal recommendations here would be Barrier Feedback to give you some extra time on your ultimate. Lethal Barrier is a decent option that will kill small enemies that try to pass through your barrier. In Your Face is a good way to taunt enemies away from your team, but be careful as you can easily be killed without your ultimate at the ready. Crazy Tough would be my last option here to make you as tanky as possible. Your perk order for this class would be damage and critical damage first, followed by ammo regeneration, though it may be worth putting a point or two into this early on so you always have a little bit of Boltok ammo available, and then finish with damage resistance. You will deal consistent damage with this kind of build, and critically killing an enemy will make your next target a little bit easier to deal with. Try to use your barrier as often as possible for the extra damage, and use precision weapons like the long shot to make the most out of Bullet Chain. Pairing this kind of setup with the veteran is great for the free aimbot that class provides. Having a combat medic on your team can provide you some extra stim as well, making you even more difficult to kill. And a tactician can help a little bit with their resupply ultimate ability, if you do find you are having some ammo issues. On to the second build, let's start with the card setup. This one will focus on being a frontline tank for your team whilst providing some healing. Harness Energy is the main part of this build. Having enemies shoot at your barrier will not only block the damage, but it will heal and provide stim to your teammates. So you're going to want your barriers to be as big as possible and last for as long as it can. Barrier Boost and Barrier Battery are here to do both of those. If you pair these with In Your Face, you will taunt enemies to attack you, which will give you plenty of time to support your team. There is an optional slot at the end again for whichever card you want to take. Barrier Feedback is once again an option to make your support barrier last longer. Lethal Barrier can be used, but on higher difficulties it's not as useful. Crazy Tough can be taken to give you a lot more health for those times when you are without your barrier. And Bloody Shot is also an option if you do want to deal a little bit extra damage. Your perk order for this would be damage resistance first, ammo regeneration next, damage third, and critical damage last. In terms of weapons, you do give up a bunch of damage for this kind of playstyle, but using weapons like the Lancer will allow you to taunt enemies very easily. You will eventually get a nice damage bonus with your barrier, and even more once you max out your perks. This playstyle works well with other high damage dealers that will benefit from your supported build. Marksmen, Demolitions and Nomads, for example, will deal a lot more damage when shooting through your shield. and you'll provide them with stim, making them harder to kill. An engineer is a good option to pair with this class to build plenty of barriers to slow the enemy down, and provide weapon lockers for your team, though you may be able to survive with just your ammo regeneration perk. You've got the build, now go and start grinding out some Horde to get the anchor leveled up. Getting this class to level 20 will unlock the final thing I have yet to cover. This is the heroic Venom weapon skin for the bolt-action pistol, and I should be showing the skin off on screen now. I think the anchor is definitely a hidden gem when it comes to damage and survivability. The class is very fun to play and useful in so many situations. But that is everything there is to this class. If you like these kinds of videos, then be sure to subscribe to see my future uploads. I've recently started covering the escape hives in a similar format to these class guides, so if that is something that interests you, go and take a look at the one I did last week, and I'll have another one out in a couple of days after this video. The next class I want to cover for this particular series though will be Jack. But that is everything for this one. Have an awesome day, gears, and I will see you in the next one.